for many years, where you built a very successful career. How did your interaction with Bulgarian diaspora start and how it has evolved?
I think it's fair to say that maybe like for the first 20 or so years of me living here, I was really mostly focused on building my own life and building my own career. And, you know, once you get to a point where these things are more or less kind of taken care of, I really started reestablishing connections back to Bulgaria. And I think it's fair to say that what lit the flame for me were precisely people like VASSIL and his co-founders at Telerik. I had the honor and the chance to work with them and be on their board in the last year and a half before the acquisition by Progress Software, and through them and other friends, I really reestablished my connections back to Bulgaria, and now I have a whole bunch of new friendships established in the last few years. And you know, since then I've become an investor in a few startups in Bulgaria. I'm on the board of one, and I've become an investor in some of the funds that Evgeny mentioned just a few minutes ago. But it's all through people, right? So through new friendships.
In a recent interview, you said that one of your first interaction with Bulgaria was investing in NetInfo. And
my very first angel investment, I invested the glorious sum of $5,000 out of my student budget back in 1999, was it? Must have been like 99 or 2000, yeah. It was a very successful investment.
What made you
Many times over.
And the co-founder of NetInfo is standing right next to you,
yes.
So.
Exactly.
Well, Victor, you're a co-founder of NetInfo, but you have other startups and you support NGO sector as well. What is your experience like, and what are some of the most successful startups that you've been supporting throughout the years?
Oh God, this is a long topic. First of all, let me correct Boy. He said 20 years he built here live, but like I know we were making Shopska salad in Stanford together, and then he invested early on in the company. That was a Bulgarian company, so it was way before he actually turned and made it alive. So the question was, what is the experience of engaging with NGOs?
Yeah, and some of your most successful like startups that you supported.
You know, my attitude towards investing and helping people has always been trying to make people realize their dreams. So it's scattered all over the place. I've invested in companies, quite a few. Most of the time I don't invest based on a thesis of returning money. I invest in a person that I know is passionate, is going to persevere, and is going to make it happen. And there are a few of those. Right now I'm, for example, investing in CashWave, which is a Bulgarian company started by somebody that was an entrepreneur some time ago. I have an investment in Kovacevic. So those are small bed and breakfast. So all over the place. I also help NGOs. I mean, we started helped start last year the first chamber music festival in Bulgaria, in Kovacevic, by prominent Bulgarian musicians all over the world. Laura Chekoratova is a musician, pianist in New York, together with her husband, who is a violin player. So we, decided let's do that, and get people involved. I help with quite a big teach for Bulgaria as well. So it's all over the place.
It's a big list, yeah. But you refer to the Bulgarian diaspora a lot. You reside in the US, but you also travel to Bulgaria quite often. Why the Bulgarian diaspora is important to you?
Look, I don't look at it as diaspora. I really don't like this word, and that's my personal opinion about that. We're Bulgarians, in Bulgaria, out of Bulgaria. That's it. And there is a link that we all experience because we've grown up in the same culture. We've been bred with the same stories and myths from day one. And so it's a human connection, and ultimately you connect with people you resonate with, and people, whether they live here, they live in San Francisco, they live in Munich, it doesn't matter. We all come from the same root, and so the importance is not the diaspora; it's just the connections and being able to make something happen with people that are like-minded. That's it.
ZLATOLINA, you're a partner at one of the oldest VC funds in Bulgaria. What's your view on the current ecosystem and how has it evolved throughout the years?
Well, I started 18 years ago in the first so-called private equity fund in Bulgaria, where we had to invest in privatized enterprises. And it wasn't very successful because most of the Bulgarian owners didn't want to accept any private equity investors. And compared to that time, now 20 years later, it's completely different. Everybody knows what is private equity, what is venture capital, and everybody is excited about being an entrepreneur. So we see a lot of interesting ideas, a lot of good entrepreneurs coming to us looking for finance. And of course, the ecosystem is developing around this. Currently, we see a lot of accelerators, venture capital funds, and hopefully soon we will see also Series A, Series B funds, etc. So I think that the ecosystem has all the elements that are needed in order to boost the startups and all entrepreneurs that are eager to develop their own business.
And what do you think it's lacking? What do you think we need to work on more?
Well, we definitely need more people with business and sales experience. I know I'm repeating the words of other people, but we need those people. We have a lot of good engineers, a lot of people that are developing exceptional technologies. But as you know, as of now, we still don't have an exit, so-called exit and sale of a technology, so-called technology. I mean, selling a business that doesn't have revenues, but just a wonderful technology. It's because we lack managerial experience and sales experience, and also we need to expose ourselves better. I think we are not known enough, neither in Europe nor in the US.
Speaking of exits, I think we have the right person next to you. Vasco, could you share your experience with Telerik, how it all started, the exit and Telerik Academy, your whole experience with that?
So that means that nobody else gets to talk tonight? No, I've told the story many times that in my case I and my co-founders, we became entrepreneurs by chance, but we learned fast, we used every opportunity in front of us, and we succeeded in building a big company and exiting it. And I want to call out something that really helped us. It was a team effort. So none of us was an expert in what we built a company around. None of us knew how to raise capital, none of us knew how to lead an 800-person organization, but what we learned is that if we pull our efforts together, if we step on everybody's knowledge, if we are open to learn and embrace all the other people, and this expanded as we grew the team with other smart people, we quickly caught up and we outpaced all of our competitors. So that's the big lesson, and it's very relevant to why we are here, because together, each of us doing one small thing, one small step at a time, helping each other out, whether it's knowledge, whether it's a $20, $30 donation, whatever it is. But if this big group unites with all of the other people that we spoke to in other places, that's how those newsworthy outcomes happen. It's by all the small steps, but of a lot of people moving in the same direction. So that's the gist of the story. And all of the other stuff is technicalities, luck, and many other things. But that's like the one thing I hope everybody remembers and takes to heart, that together we can do a lot more in Bulgaria, outside of Bulgaria, and really create something a lot better for the generations coming after us.
And what about the educational aspect? Why do you invest so much in education? Why Telerik Academy? Why is that important to you?
Well, because everything I do and my other partners, all of our ventures, and they're like a lot, but if you look deeper, there's two things that unite all of them. One is education, the other one is entrepreneurship, because we deeply believe that those are the fundamentals of a well-working society and economy. Independent, strong, capable people to create value, ethical, to share it in the proper way, intelligent to invest in the future and not just in themselves. And this all starts with education. The earlier you start to provide people with the right technical skills to prepare them for the future, to learn the skills needed for social interaction so that they're not, sidelined in the corner, and you top that with the right moral compass and ethical values so that their success translates into more and more systemic success. That's how you transform things. It's not very glorious. It's a lot of work, person by person, day by day, lots of toiling, but it starts with those things. People knowing that each of them is a sole proprietorship and working to improve themselves and the others around them. And that it's near and dear to the heart. So I'm very privileged in this respect that my passion, my hobby happens to be my business.
In Bulgaria, you're well known for your ability to sense a great idea from the very start. What makes a startup great?
Once I exit most of them, I'll tell you. So now, there are things with a lot of potential. I'm a positive guy. I keep joking that the unicorns are coming to California and there's going to be even worse traffic in San Francisco. But, give me a few years. I've made a bet that in 6, 7, 8 years, we would start seeing the large-scale systemic success that we're talking about. Now you see the inklings, all those great companies, great entrepreneurs doing all the right things, but it's like a grape. You plant it in year 1, but it doesn't start giving grapes up until year 5. And even at year 5, the grapes are not as good as those that it would give in year 15. Once you start making the wine, and you know how it goes. So it's the same with an ecosystem. There are no shortcuts, and we're patiently waiting.
It's a great comparison.
Well, we think that technology is different, but the laws of the universe apply in what we do too.
Well, Larry, you're not Bulgarian. Why Bulgaria? Why did you choose this country to invest your time and energy in?
Well, what I tell people is I just started alphabetically. I conquered America, and then I went to B, and Belize was taken. So it's funny because I spent my whole life, 50 years, managing money for people who were all entrepreneurs. I had the good fortune of coming out of Stanford at the same time Silicon Valley was just starting to bubble. And all these people were there not to make money, they were there to change the world with product. As Steve Jobs would say, I'm going to tell people what they want to buy, what they should buy. And that's kind of the attitude that existed. But these people found that the byproduct of their success was they were making money. And they knew nothing about managing money. So I decided to form a firm to help manage their money. But the message that I gave them, which is why Bulgaria started to bubble up in my mind, has always been, you have to move from success to significance. If you really want to feel self-love, that you're doing a good thing, that you're a good person, it's not all about personal success, it's about what is the positive impact you leave to others. And one of the major ways to do that is to transform your wealth into value. Okay? Not dollars, but impact. So, I've embraced that myself when I kind of retired from the money management business. So I looked for opportunities where I could transform wealth into value. And after doing a theatrical musical, taking it to Bulgaria, and performing in 14 different locations 4 years ago, thinking I was making an impression on Bulgarians about common American values that they weren't reading about in the newspaper or seen on television, but were more fundamentally sound in my mind. My wife and I came away actually more impressed by Bulgaria than I'm sure Bulgaria was impressed with our show. So we went back and said, what opportunities might we have as entrepreneurs with a company that's been going now, it's their 50th anniversary this year, and as people working with wealth, what could we do that might impact Bulgaria? And we basically discovered that a lot of people are getting jobs. Just go out to Sofia Business Park and you see, I felt like I'm at Stanford Industrial Park. There's a Hewlett Packard there, and there's SAP and so forth and so on. But all these people had jobs, but no one was starting businesses. They were afraid to fail, all those various things you hear about. So we made the decision to build a bridge between Silicon Valley and Bulgaria, by which we could bring three things: education, and education taught by people who've done it someplace else, in addition to those having success within the country. Secondly, mentorship. You know, you just can't run through a class and then expect to go out and start, you know, a breakthrough business. You need that constant interaction with people who can basically warn you of the potholes that face the road ahead of you, and hopefully enable you to avoid them. And finally, you need the funding. Our whole point is that ecosystems should all be about vertical integration. Train somebody, mentor them, fund them. Then continue to mentor them in terms of exit down the road somewhere. So that's what we decided to do in Bulgaria, being small, being innovating, being educated, well-educated, and the young people. That was a no-brainer.
Larry, what are some of the programs that you developed and executed in Bulgaria through the Bulgarian Entrepreneurship Center? What's happening?
Right, well, I'm going to leave one out because I have a feeling somebody very near me might talk about that one. But we started out basically with bringing Santa Clara University's My Own Business online class, and then adding to that live weekly meetup sessions. So we call it BEHL, Bulgaria Entrepreneurship Center, and /MOBI. And where we have found is that we have an online class with a 50% graduation rate and 80 businesses started. And that's in a period of 6 months. And we are funding those people with grants and interesting types of debt kind of instruments. So that is something unique, and that has had probably the biggest lift off to date. We also have a very successful Teenovator program in 4 high schools that we're piloting in Sofia. In mathematics, 105, 132, I don't know the numbers. And we just had a big Teenovator weekend in which one of the ministers of digital economy for the EU came, and she gave an introduction, and we had a lot of exposure from that. So those are 2 of the most successful, plus when we bring Norman Monarski, the father of Siri, over to do his business builder class, is a standing room only kind of experience.
We were speaking about education in IT and entrepreneurship, but we also need education in the creative sphere. And so Anthony, coming back to Bulgaria after so many years abroad, teaching in one of the best universities and doing what he's doing, why are you coming back to Bulgaria, and why are you doing the Idea Academy?
Like what he said, success into significance. It's a great phrase. I'm stealing that one. Yeah. So I've spent many years here. 37, if you can believe that. It's been a while. I came here in 1981 in California, and so the last 18 years I spent in PIXAR as an art director of films that you might have seen, like Finding Nemo, WALL-E, Incredibles. Incredibles 2, it's the latest, before I bailed. So a few years ago we started a school in Rome, in the center of Rome, in Via Veneto, which right across the American Embassy actually. It's done pretty well for us, and I decided that the time is right to start something like this in Sofia. And it's about when I met BIEHL, who gave me that push, like push in the butt, basically, go. And with a small grant that it's not the money necessarily, it was the idea that somebody believes in you and is pushing you forward enough to do that. That kind of made me think really seriously. And so we moved to Bulgaria back in October after 37 years here. And it's been fantastic. Everything you just heard from these people here is that there is this eagerness. You know, there's obviously many problems there, but at the same time, there's this incredible eagerness and need for qualified people, and need for many things. I mean, you can't find a plumber there. If anybody knows how to be a plumber, they're gone. You know. And so it's really, that's a crisis, but in the same time, like the Chinese say, there's an opportunity in every crisis. And so what we're doing is we are connecting industry with education, which is something that even here is considered a little illegal and fattening, right? They don't like that because there's a lot of anti-corporate feeling here sometimes, especially here in the left coast. But we do need, that's a first world problem. In Bulgaria, we don't have that problem. We need skill sets. And the companies are extremely welcoming and they're willing to help us put the programs together. And the students are extremely eager to learn and to make those connections. And for years, when I would come to Bulgaria and I would give interviews and stuff, it's always been about what I do at PIXAR. And there was always this nagging sense of guilt on my part that I'm advertising what I've done as some sort of role model, but what I've done is I've left the country. And I decided that I don't want to be contributing to this crisis, of youth and brain drain leaving the country. And so part of what I'm set out to do is create an environment where young people would have already connections with the companies that are on the ground there, and because of the collaboration between the schools and the corporations, that they would already have so many connections, the chances of them leaving, provided they have a future already, they have connections, they have an idea of what their life might look like if they stay, the chances of them leaving the country will be much smaller. And so that's what I set out to do.
Great. Well, now that you know the panelists, we wanted to make this more interactive and hear from you guys. So here's the Q&A part, and everyone who has a question just raise their hands, and we'll have a microphone.